What's up you guys, Perry from Rockville here, and today I'm going to teach you how to set up your BluTube 70-watt tube hybrid amplifier and receiver. This is a perfect amp for home theater and casual listening setups as it provides a high definition sound quality. So today I'm using the BluTube WD for this setup, but this also applies for your BluTube LED and your standard BluTube as well. So as you can see, you'll get the amp itself as well as an RCA to aux cable. Now you'll notice the vacuum tubes on the top of the amp here, and this is what gives the amp that high sound quality. They also take high volumes really well, so you won't get any sound clipping while using the amp. So the first thing you're going to want to do when setting up the amp is take the built-on power cable and plug that right into your power outlet. So now we can turn on the unit by using this button here on the front. So since the BluTube has a built-in power amp, you'll want to use passive speakers when using it. So let me grab some right now and show you how to set them up. Alright, so here I have my Rockshelf passive bookshelf speakers that I'm going to use to connect to the amp. Now each terminal channel on the back of the amp is 4 ohm stable. This means I could run up to 4 8 ohm speakers off the amp itself, but for right now I'm going to show you the setup with just 2 speakers. So to connect the speakers to the amp, we're going to use the included red and black cables that come with the rock shelves. We're going to want to start by unscrewing the terminals on the back of the speakers and on the back of the amp as well. So then we're going to take one end of both of our speaker cables. We'll take the red end of the cable and plug that into the positive terminal. Then we'll take the black wire and plug that into the negative terminal on the back of the speaker. Then you're gonna wanna tighten these terminals on the back of the speaker to hold the cables in place. Then we're gonna take our other ends and plug them into the positive and negative terminals here for the left and right channels on the back of the amp. Now before we hear the amp with the speakers, let me show you how to get sound coming through. On the back of the amp, you'll see the aux RCA input that we can use to connect our TV, laptop, smartphone or tablet, and much more. So we can use the included RCA to aux cable, take the ends of the cable and plug that into the RCA aux input on the back of the amp. Then we'll take the other end and plug that into whatever device you're playing music from. In this case, I'm using my smartphone, which is why I have this adapter piece hooked up to it already. Now to hear the music from the aux source, I'll have to switch my input using this switch right here and flip it onto the aux position. Then I want to be sure to raise the volume knob here on the front of the amp. So now we should be able to hear the music coming from the amp out of the speakers. So let's hear how they sound. Nice well-balanced sound. You really hear the warmth coming from the speakers because of these tubes here on the top. Yeah. Now the BluTube even comes with an optical input to use for your TV, CD or DVD player, or even your computer. Now for this setup, you'll want to make sure that the optical output on your TV can be used for audio, and you'll know it can if it says something like audio out optical. Then you'll need an optical cable like this one here. Then you'll take the other end and plug that into your BluTube. But before you do that, you'll want to make sure to take out this optical input piece here on the back of the amp. You'll also want to be sure to flip this switch here on the back to optical mode. Now on your TV, you'll want to be sure to go into your advanced or expert audio settings and switch the audio format to PCM so your TV is sending the stereo signal out to your BluTube. And lastly, on the front of the amp, you'll want to be sure to switch the input source to the optical/coaxial mode. Now another really cool feature on the amp that I really enjoy is the VU meter here on the front. This shows you the level of the volume coming into the amp in real time. On the front of the amp, we have this knob here that we can use to rewind and fast forward our track, and if we press the center of it, that will actually pause our music. Now we can really dial in the sound coming out of the amp by using these treble and bass knobs here. You'll want to use the treble knob to adjust the high-end frequencies coming out, and the bass knob next to it will be used to control the low frequencies. Another really cool feature on the BluTube is the Bluetooth pairing mode. The first thing we'll want to do for this setup is switch the input source to Bluetooth mode. Then on our smartphone or tablet, we'll want to go into our Bluetooth settings and select the device that reads BluTube. And when you hear that chime, you'll know you're connected. So let's hear how it sounds with the Bluetooth mode. You can also plug in your USB device on the front of the amp here. You'll just want to be sure to leave the input switch in the middle to hear the music coming from the USB source. Also on the front of the amp is a headphone jack that we can use to hear our music privately. Now on the back of the amp, we have the sub output that we can use to set up a subwoofer. So let me show you how to do that next. So for this setup, you're gonna need an RCA cable. Take one end and plug that into the RCA output on the back of the amp. Then take the other end and plug that into the RCA input on your subwoofer. So let's hear how the whole setup sounds with the addition of the subwoofer. Whoa! You really feel the whole bass shattering with the whole setup. Really fills out the room. That's awesome.
For this life I cannot change. Keep off in the main. Sweet like candy.
Now, as I mentioned before, we can run up to 4 8-ohm speakers with the amplifier. So now that we've got our additional speakers here, we're gonna take the included cables that come with those speakers. We're gonna take one end of both cables and plug them into the terminals on the back of the additional speakers. Then you'll take your other ends and plug them into the terminals where you connected the first pair of speakers. So let's hear how the setup sounds with the additional speakers. They really make a difference. They bring out the high end really good. That sub is rocking. So I hope this showed you guys how easy it is to set up your BluTube 70-watt tube hybrid amplifier and receiver. But of course, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to reach out to our customer support team through phone or email. As always, guys, I'm Perry from Rockville, and I'll see you next time.